the French brioche bread. What's going on, guys? Tom Costanza here, back with another YouTube video, posting videos every single Sunday morning. Today we are going to be making a breakfast dish. We are going to be making our own French toast from scratch, and then we're gonna have a nice little breakfast. Let's get right into the video. Okay, so we have all of our ingredients here. I'll make sure to put a list of all the ingredients in the description down below. That way you guys can follow along. But we're all just gonna put this into a bowl, start making it into a dough, and then we'll get into kneading it. All right, so first step is just gonna be to add in 57 grams of lukewarm water. And then following that, I'm gonna add in 3 tablespoons of granulated sugar. Okay, now I'm just gonna dilute the sugar. Okay, next I'm gonna add in 2 3/4 cups or 330 grams of unbleached all-purpose flour. Next will be 3 eggs that are cold, 8 grams of salt, 1/4 of a cup or 28 grams of dry milk, 1 packet of yeast, and lastly 10 tablespoons of unsalted butter at room temperature. And with the butter, instead of just putting in 10 tablespoons of butter as one big chunk, try breaking it down into smaller segments. That way it'd just be a little bit easier to work with, not just one giant glob of butter. Okay, so we have all of our ingredients in a bowl. Funny thing about this recipe, it actually recommends not mixing by hand. If you guys have watched the channel, I do not have a stand mixer, so we are going to be kneading by hand. So we'll see how that goes in just a few minutes here. But I'm gonna start mixing with the fork, and then we'll slowly incorporate our hands, start kneading onto the table, and we'll go from there. Okay, so after about 2 minutes of mixing with a fork, we kind of have a dough here. You could already tell that it's very buttery. I assume that's the reason why the recipe doesn't use your hands, just because the temperature of your hands is gonna heat up the dough. But I'm gonna start kneading with my hand in the bowl first, wait for it to really come together, and then we're gonna dump it on the table. Okay, so the recipe says that it's gonna be very sticky. Let's try our best. So if there's one thing that I learned about working with dough, patience. This is a mess, but I hope that it'll come together at some point. Okay, so to make things a little bit easier, I am going to be using a dough scraper just to keep my hands off of it, and hope that that helps. Okay, so I've literally been doing this for like the last 10 to 15 minutes. I think that's pretty much the equivalent to a mixer, but the next step is to put this into a grease bowl and cover it up for 1 hour and let it rest. So we're gonna ball this up, put it into a bowl, and we'll see you in an hour. Okay, so it's been about an hour and not too much has changed with the dough, but the next step is to put it in the fridge, typically overnight or for several hours, to harden up the butter and make the dough a lot easier to work with. So we're gonna stick this in the fridge, check back in on it in probably about 4 or 5 hours or so, and see what we got. Okay, so we have our French toast dough right here. I actually ran out, did some errands, went to this car show down in West Palm Beach. I'll actually pop up a couple clips up on the screen. I don't know anything about cars, but it's a pretty cool experience just walking through everything. A lot of people were clearly car fans. I signed up for an electric bike. Fingers crossed I win that. But let's get back to the French toast. So we have our French toast dough here. Okay, so it actually seems like the next thing we need to do is take our dough out and form it into like a 9-inch roll, it says, like a 9-inch log. So it's definitely a lot easier to work with now that it is cold. I assume that if you did put it in overnight, it'd be just that much easier. Okay, I'd say that's about 9 inches. What would you say? Looks pretty good to me. We're just gonna put it in, just like that. Now we need to cover this and let the dough come completely to room temperature. So I'm just gonna put this with saran wrap, put it on the stove, and then we are going to see what this thing looks like in about 3 or 4 hours. Now after a few hours of proofing, we have our French toast brioche dough here. I'm gonna preheat the oven to 350 degrees, that way we can get that started up. And then we're gonna put this into the oven for 45 minutes. So this is what the dough looks like now. So it's a lot more airy than it was before. Okay, so now that we have our oven preheated to 350 degrees, we need to, the recipe calls for a pan that has a cover on it. like a metal cover that just slides over the pan. I do not have that, so we're gonna be using tin foil. We're just gonna create a super tight seal on it. I think it's just to keep the moisture in. We're gonna see how it works. And then again, we're gonna put this in for 45 minutes. Okay, so I really don't know what to expect here. We have our dough out of the oven. Kind of doing an unboxing at the same time. Looks pretty darn good to me. It smells very buttery, but I don't know if it's supposed to be more charred on the top or what. Let me know in the comments what you think. Maybe I'll put it back in the oven for another 3 minutes. Okay, so I did throw it in for another 3 minutes. I really don't think that it did do anything. Maybe crisped it up a little bit, but we're gonna let this kind of cool for probably about 5 minutes right here. Then I'm just gonna dump it out on this sheet rack and let it cool as much as we can. I plan on having this French toast today, so we're gonna let it cool as quick as possible. I'm impressed. It looks so good. Smells buttery. I hope that's good for French toast. So yeah, I need to get this thing to cool down and come to room temperature as quick as possible. So the top's not super charred. I don't know if that's because of the tin foil, but the bottom looks really good. Okay, so after about a 30-minute trip to the grocery store for syrup, our bread is still a little bit warm and I'm getting a little bit impatient. So we are going to take out our homemade cutting boards. And I'm gonna do some slicing into probably about 1 inch to 3/4 of an inch thickness. Some nice thick boys. We're gonna hope that it cools a little bit easier, cools a little bit faster, and then start making French toast. Okay, so first of all, check out this knife. Okay. We're gonna cut it down the center first, just because tradition. It is super dense bread. Now another thing that's kind of a buzzkill is you're supposed to wait for this bread to get stale, but who makes bread and then waits 7 days to eat it? So I'm gonna be making French toast with fresh bread instead of stale bread. But we still are gonna wait for this to cool down a little bit more, and then we're gonna make our egg wash. Okay, so we let our bread sit out for about an hour. It's not fully stale or fully dried out, but it's good enough for me. I'm getting hungry. Now we're going to be making our egg wash. So the egg wash consists of flour, sugar, nutmeg, cinnamon, heavy cream, vanilla extract, and eggs. We're going to put all this together. Again, recipe is going to be in the description down below, and then we're going to get this over to the stovetop. Okay, I think that's pretty well mixed in here. Now let's head over to our stovetop. Okay, so here goes egg cook number 1. We're going to spray our spray here so our eggs don't stick. And then the recipe recommends kind of soaking our piece of French toast in here for a little bit of time. So we'll give it 5 seconds on one side, 5 seconds on another, then we'll go right in. Give it a shot. Okay, so 1 done. I'm gonna make the 7 more, and then we're gonna check back in once they're all done. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing left to do but to try our French toast. Looks absolutely phenomenal. We got some maple syrup on here. It's got some butter. Let's give it a shot. Wow. So the first thing that stands out, honestly, is the nutmeg. I only put in 1/8 of a teaspoon of nutmeg in this recipe. That's the first thing that stands out in that bite. This might be the best French toast I've ever eaten. That's a hot take, but I said it. The recipe for this will be in the description down below. Again, technically it's a 2-day process. I did it on a busy Sunday where I was grocery shopping, going to see cars, watching football. If I could do it, you could do it. Thank you guys so much for watching and sticking around to the end of the video. It really means the world to me if you guys watch my videos. Like the video, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think I should make in my next upcoming videos. Until next time, I'll see you guys next Sunday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take it easy. Peace.